Merchants and Planners Bank, downtown Newport, Jim Gowen Jr., President and CEO of this organization. Welcome, my friend.
Thank you very much, David. I appreciate you being here.
Thank you, sir. We hear so much about the Gowens. Of course, your dad, Jim Gowen Sr., in your position for many, many years. And
yes.
We're going to find out a little bit about you today.
Okay.
For those people that may or may not know Jim Gowen Jr., tell us a little bit about you and kind of tell us how you got into the banking business.
Well, I'm a 1987 graduate of Newport High School, and proud to be a Greyhound,
yes,
and
sir.
have been my whole life since my family moved here in 10th grade. And so the last 3 years of high school, I've been here in Newport, and it's been great. I went to college at University of Arkansas at Little Rock and got a degree in finance. And after I did that, I went to work for the state bank department. I was a bank examiner. I was a financial analyst for that group, and also examined holding companies, bank holding companies. And I had the opportunity to come to work at Merchants and Planners Bank back in, I guess it was December of 2000. And so it's been, last month, it's been 18 years
Wow.
since I came back and started working here at the bank, and it's just been a whirlwind ever since.
It has, my friend. Well, let me ask you this. I mean, banking in your blood as a young man, and obviously your dad had some influence on you, but when did you decide along the way that's probably what I want to do?
I think probably when I was in high school. I actually worked here at the bank part-time. I was on the teller line.
Right.
I worked back in bookkeeping, and that was back in the days when we actually had to count checks and stuff checks into statements. And I did that for summers and after school from about 3:15 until about 6 o'clock at night throughout the whole year. And then once again, spring break usually, and then the summers. And I thought, this is something I think that I would enjoy. I wanted to be a Dallas Cowboy quarterback, but that was not
just didn't work out,
happen.
did it?
No, that didn't work out too good for me. But I guess my fallback position was banking, and so that's kind of how I started here, and where I started thinking about that's what I want to do, is working part-time in high school and throughout college too, and I've just enjoyed it ever since.
Well, and then full-time for 18 years, and it kind of leads me into talking about changes in the industry and changes that you've seen when you started that and you talk about stuffing those checks in there. Like, there's been a lot of change in the banking industry, and it changes year to year and sometimes day to day. Talk about some of that the changes that you've seen down through the years.
It's amazing, and I know even for people that have had a longer career than I have, 8 years at the bank department plus 18 here at the bank, the amount of change is incredible. But even in that amount of time, the difference is just staggering, and it's all pretty much due to technology. Now we have businesses currently here at Merchants and Planners Bank, that businesses that can take their checks, run them through a machine at their business, their place of business, and they get automatically deposited into their account here. 2019, one of the things we're looking really forward to is we're going to be offering, within the next few months, we're going to be offering that you can take your cell phone, take a picture of a check, and it's automatically deposited directly into your account at the bank. And so I think technology is just the biggest life change in banking that there has been. I can't imagine anything that's not touched by technology in the banking
Right.
world these days. So there's been all kinds of changes, regulatory changes, a lot since I started my banking career as well. I started once again as a regulator, but the amount of regulatory burden then versus now there's a lot more after the
Right.
2008 national mortgage crisis that community banks had nothing to do with.
Sure.
But when all the new laws started being passed, community banks like Merchants and Planners, we had to follow those laws, and so we have compliance staff to make sure that we're doing everything we're supposed to be doing, and keeps us out of trouble. So I like those
There
guys.
you go. There you go. You mentioned community bank.
Yes.
And we have talked about this on several occasions with Tara and others here. Kind of explain what a community bank is and what makes us different.
Community banking is different than the big banks. The bigger banks, they're not so concerned about what's happening in their community. A bank like Merchants and Planners Bank and all community banks, we are interested in making our communities better. We want to see our communities thrive. Merchants and Planners Bank we have 11 banking locations in 5 different counties.
Right.
And we want to have a very strong community presence in each one of those markets. That's the most important thing, is to take care of the community, because if you help take care of the community is going to take care of you, and that's just a mindset of community banking.
Well, and you mentioned, you start out, and we'll talk a little bit about the history of the bank, and then you mentioned the several locations, several banks. Mm-hmm. I mean, for years it was Merchants and Planters Bank in downtown Newport, Arkansas, and then we really expanded, went out on the highway.
Yeah.
But we've expanded a lot further.
That's
That's the nature of the business, and it has to be done.
It has to be done. You have to continue to grow, and just like with any business, if you're becoming stagnant, then you're not going to flourish. And then any business has to continue to grow, and that's what we want to do. We have, as I mentioned a moment ago, we have 11 banking locations in 5 different counties. We started in 1946, so this year, 2019, will be our 73rd birthday. Actually, it'll be in April, but 73 years of Merchants and Planters Bank, and we've been nothing but Merchants and Planters Bank. It's been that bank since day one. But along with the 11 banking locations, we have an insurance company. Sure. We have an investment company. We have a trust department. We have a mortgage division that can help you with a home loan. Mm-hmm. And it's just, we can really be your one-stop shop for any type of financial needs that you have can be handled right here at Merchants and Planters Bank. I
think one of the most important things, Jim, and looking back on doing business with people, and I'm a people person, and you're a people person, and you have to be in this industry. Sure. And I like when you can walk into the bank and sit down and talk to somebody and get an answer from here. It's not like we're going to call St. Louis or we got to call out to so and so. We're going to get a decision, and most of the times it's always a fair decision, and hopefully sometimes a favorable decision.
Absolutely, local decision making. You can't really say enough about the importance of local decision making, and that's another key facet of what makes a community bank a community bank. And local decision making, as you know, if you walk in the main office here, the first office that you see is my office.
Absolutely.
And so, and I'm 9 times out of 10, I'm behind that desk, and I'm always here. My door is always open to anybody in the community. I have board members, I have shareholders, I have customers, I have people who I want to be customers. They'll just pop in, and my door is open to those individuals all the time. Another interesting thing about our institution, our community bank, is that our largest, and this is one thing that probably most people don't know about Merchants and Planters Bank, is that our largest shareholder is actually our employees.
Right.
It is through our employee stock ownership plan that entity owns the largest amount of stock in our bank. And so if you drive through to cash the drive-through teller to cash a check, that teller is an owner of this bank.
There you go.
If you go to one of our CSRs to open a deposit account or a savings account for a grandchild or a Christmas club account, that CSR is an owner of the bank. If you go borrow money from one of our loan officers, that loan officer is an owner of this bank. And I think that's one of the key things about Merchants and Planters Bank is that every one of our employees is an owner, and they're going to take ownership of the banking relationship to try to make sure that they're taking care of the customer, because they know how important it is to them individually, not just to the organization, but it's important to them. If the bank does well, then their retirement plan does well.
Absolutely.
And so it's very beneficial for us.
Well, I know that people that work at Merchants and Planters Bank seem to have worked at Merchants and Planters Bank for a long, long time.
That's true. That's true. I'm at 18 years last month. I'm still one of the young ones.
You are. You are.
We have people who have worked here for over 40 years. We have people that have worked here for 10, 20, 30, and like I said, that we've had individuals work here for over 40 years. And it's just it's a fantastic thing. It's a great place.
Sir.
We try to make it like a family. When mentioned my father earlier, when he originally, my first year or so that I was here, he mentioned the banking family, and I never really could quite grasp that right at first. But it took me a couple of years, and I started understanding what he meant by family. If we treat people like family, then they're going to want to work here, and that's the way we want to be.
Tell me a little bit more about Mr. and Mrs. Gowen as we speak. Tell me about those two folks. How are they doing?
They're doing very well.
Good.
Dad has decided that he's going to slow down a little bit in 2019. He will still be here. He'll be involved in the bank. He'll still be on the board, but he's not in the bank every day like he used to be.
Right. Well, deservedly so, that he needs to take a little time off for himself and do some things that he would like to do.
That's what he tells me, at least.
Well, and you've allowed this to happen, I guess.
I guess so, yeah.
Sir.
So he owes me one.
He does that, doesn't he? I appreciate you, my friend.
Thank you,
Jim
David. I
Gowen
appreciate
Jr., who is the president and CEO of my hometown bank right here in Newport, Arkansas. I don't know why anybody would do any banking anywhere else. Love these folks down here. They've been good to us. They've been good to our family. They're good to our community. We appreciate you, my friend.
Thank you, David. I appreciate you too.